How is everyone this morning? You're all doing well?
Yeah.
I'm going to invite you all to stand up, and we're going to get started with this song that we start with. Well, we have been starting with this entire month of October. Can you believe it's the last Sunday in October?
Yes.
It's crazy. This year is going so quickly.
Do you know if there's someone in there?
Enjoy the day. What do you say? I have some instructions
Yep.
for you. And I invite you to... Here we go. Take a look at the person next to you. Say, I recognize the light in you. Feel the love you were born to be. Lift your voice, repeat after me. We come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, we come together, we come together. We come together in the name of love. So that was awfully good, but we can do even better, don't you think? We can do better, right?
We can definitely do better.
All right, we're going to do better. Take a look at the person next to you. Say, I love me and I love you too. Feel the love you were born to be. Lift your voice, repeat after me. We come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, we come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, in every walk of life, in every creed and color, in kinship we unite. To honor the light in each other. Take a look at the person next to you. Say namaste, I bow to you. Feel the love you were born to be. Lift your voice, repeat after me. We come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, we come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love. One more time. We come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, we come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love. We do come together in the name of love. I'm super jazzed today. I've got a lot of energy, and it's not just the coffee. I had this funny moment. So people always ask me, how much coffee do you drink? And I, have to say, I'm literally just this high on life. I do drink coffee, but we finished the celebration last week, and I went into the back and realized that half of my coffee was still sitting in the back. That, not this week. So welcome, good morning, welcome to Tucson New Thought. I am Reverend Jonathan Zenz. For those who are here for the first time, it is my pleasure to welcome you here. I'm so grateful to have you here. We join together each and every Sunday as a spiritual community. And I really want to honor the notion of spiritual community, because what I've really wanted to create is a deep sense of community more than anything else. Because, a spiritual philosophy is really wonderful, and when we utilize it in our lives, how great is that? But really, it's all about the community that we share, the common unity. And so that's what I'm really wanting to create here at Tucson New Thought. And in my life, frankly, I want to create more community. That's really important to me. We hold to the vision here that we are here to create a world that works for everyone. And we do this by utilizing and engaging our mission, which is to provide practical tools for personal transformation and awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. And I do want to say, if you are here for the first time, there is something that each and every one of us who continue to show up and be part of this community and have been here for a while, there's something we know about you. And I think that we should let those new people know. Here we go. You are magnificent. You are magnificent. And that is the truth, because each and every one of us is a reflection of the other, and you are a reflection of me, and I'm a reflection of you. And so we know that about you because we can embody that and trust that for ourselves. So let's claim for ourselves, I am magnificent. I am magnificent. Yes, we are here to connect, not just here at Tucson New Thought, but here in this world. And let's take a few minutes of connection time by greeting our friends and neighbors, letting them know their magnificence in our own unique, personalized way. And I do want to say hello to everybody who is watching online, let you know that I am so grateful that you have decided to make your presence known virtually with us, and that you really are part of this common unity. You are part of this community, and I am blessed by your presence here. Thank you for being with us. You are magnificent. You are magnificent.
And I want to hear more. I realized I went into the diatribe with my kids, but what I really wanted
That's where Christy's. You know, I'm having a moment. You told me I had the giggles this morning. It's so true. I'm going to invite William to join me up here. Yeah. You know, one of the things that I wrote in my notes for today's talk, and so I'll get to it eventually, but is to say, you know, we are serious about spiritual practice, but we are playful about everything else in our lives. And I think we can be playful in our spiritual practice as well. I think it's really important. Part of our spiritual practice that we engage in here every single week is to do this ritual, this ceremony called lighting the flames of faith. And what we are doing in this ceremony is to honor the faith traditions, the spiritual paths, and the religious ideologies of the world, with the notion and understanding that every single one of them is born from a common golden thread of love. And so for each candle that we light, that is what we are doing. So we first light a candle for the Tao. I should make sure I'm doing my slides. Yes, we light a candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light a candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light a candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light a candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light a candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light a candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light a candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the divine will of love as the highest calling. We light a candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light a candle for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. We light a candle for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of spirit in their lives, and for the space that we are holding for them, and for all faith traditions unnamed in this ceremony. And this final candle we light is a candle to represent the healing of any circumstance that requires divinity to be revealed. This is your candle for whatever is in your mind and your heart that requires the light. The candle that is over here is our peace candle. Something's coming through me to allow for this candle today, and it is this. We have brothers and sisters at the Center for Spiritual Living Santa Rosa who are not able to have their service this morning because they are under mandatory evacuation because of the fires in their area. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that they are surrounded with love and safety, and that their presence in this world is necessary, and that they are illuminated. Well, I don't want to say they're too illuminated. They're not that illuminated. Wow, talk about a slip of the tongue. But let's just honor them with love, as we know their perfect place and safety right here and right now. And as we do that, honoring the peace candle, which is a representation that peace is not only possible, but is happening right here and right now to the degree that we allow it in our own minds. And so we honor this notion by utilizing this modified prayer for protection. Truly, the light of peace surrounds us. The love of peace enfolds us. The power of peace protects us. And the presence of peace watches over us. Wherever we are, peace is.
Loving Spirit dwells in me. This is my day.
in the grand experience of life, there are people who just make you laugh and bring more to your life than just laughter. But since today seems to have a lot of laughter in it, I just want to acknowledge that the person who is bringing to us a reading and a reflection and our affirmation today brings a lot of joy and laughter into my life, and I am so grateful. Please welcome William Summers.
Go ahead. Wow. Jonathan, as you know, will allow us to pick our own quotes if we're comfortable with that. So the one I got this morning is from Eckhart Tolle, and I'm sure many of you have heard it. I hadn't heard this one before, and it struck a little chord in me. The quote goes, "Some people awaken spiritually without ever coming into contact with any meditation technique or any spiritual teaching. They may awaken simply because they can't stand the suffering anymore." I'm not going to throw it today because I might hit Aiden or hit the food, and we're not going to do that. So I'm going to go with something. I did this before without notes, and it was a scary thing, but I'm going to take one more step. A small group that I belong to, a couple that run it, taught me the importance of just letting what's in my heart just come up and go with that. Now, I honor you in that I did do some practice on this, but I may forget some of it, but that's okay. The benefits of oneness, and the reason I picked the quote is because many of us have been in that spot before. We're living just a life of suffering, and we reach the point where we can't stand it anymore. For me, it was with alcohol and drugs, but everybody has their own story, and they're all equally valid. When it comes to the benefits of the oneness, first I go with inside, and thank you, Lori. I believe most of us here meditate or have at one point or another, and every once in a while, for me, I get in that spot where I'm not only just me or even just the people on this planet or this planet, but the universe itself. And if you have experienced that, you know what that connectedness feels like. And in fact, it's so wonderful for me that many times I don't want to come back. I enjoy being there. It's so incredibly wonderful. And if you haven't experienced that, keep working at it. You will. But that's just a personal thing. And then if we move into just a little bit larger group, when we're in relationship, and I'm not talking about necessarily a husband, wife, partner. It can be mom and dad, your roommate, a brother or sister. We experience that oneness, that connectedness with these people, and it adds something on a human level to our feeling of life and how great that is. And I'm sure we've all had the experience of just looking into someone's eyes and recognizing the love that's behind those little peepers up there, and they see it in our eyes. We go to a little bigger expansion, and we're out in public, and you're at the grocery store, and the cashier says, "Good morning, how's your day going?" My typical reply is stupendous, and sometimes I get a startled look like, wow. And the thing is, that's how I affirm my day is going all the time. Once in a while, the universe sends me something that I choose not to feel stupendous about. But most of the time, my life is really great. And the thing is, I also want their life to be really stupendous too. Going into the next step up, the group. We have a group here, a group that's just incredible to me. I come here and I'm standing up here, and if I'm honest, I was nervous when I first came up here. I'm not anymore. I'm in front of people that are so incredible, so wonderful, and so loving, and I just feel that energy coming up here, and it's just amazing. I hope all of you take the opportunity at some point during our time here to come up here and experience this. Even going on one bigger level that I've experienced, and if I can use your name with Yvette, there was a march in Tucson last year, I believe it was, after the shootings and stuff, anti-gun violence, and 65 years old, and I had never marched in a protest before. I decided it was time, and every once in a while we just need to step outside. And so I went with Yvette, and the sense of community there, the sense of oneness again on that human level, that everything is good, everything will work out, everything will be fine. So I'm going to leave you with this thought. When we look at other people, they may look a little different to us. I mean, man, woman, tall, short, old, young, but they're not other. They're just different expressions of the one. So as you go through life, I ask you to take your blinders off, forget that we're separate or they're separate, and remember, we are all one. Thank you. All right, well, now I get the joy of doing the affirmation. And I'm going to read it through once, and then we're going to say it together, but we're not going to say it twice this time, because I'm going to affirm that we're going to put a lot of feeling in it the first time when the group says it. So here I go. I know who I am, and who I am is a blessing to the world. Together, I know who I am, and who I am is a blessing to the entire world. Thank you.
Thank you, William. I know who I am, and who I am is a blessing to the entire world. We have been definitely blessed with the arrival of this magnificent being of light. Christy, thank you.
Thank you.
We have this, so one of the things that happens is, I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag a little bit. One of the things that happens when you have somebody who is so beautiful, such a beautiful musician, is that then they have to, like they're saying, so what's the song next week? And it had been my habit for a long time to not prepare the songs until Saturday, because I was doing them all on my own, but now I have to get them in advance and send them and everything, which is great. And I said, oh, last week she said, what is the song? I said, oh, I'll send you something, it'll be easy. And then we started rehearsing it. And we're like, this is easy. I'm going to affirm that it is easy today. It's a beautiful song, and I trust you will enjoy it.
Where there is hatred, let me bring love. Where there is doubt, let me bring faith. Where there is falsehood, let me bring truth. Where there is pain, I'll comfort you. Where there is silence, let me bring peace. Where there's despair, let me bring hope. Where there is blindness, let me bring sight. Where there is darkness, let me bring light. And with these words I speak, grant that I may not seek to be heard as to hear, to be consoled, but to console, not to be seen, but to see, to be loved, but to love. For when we give love, we will receive. When we forgive love, we'll find reprieve. It is in dying we'll be released. Make me an instrument of peace.
Thank you. My first introduction to that song, and perhaps it's an introduction that many of us will know, is actually Olivia Newton-John. And I've always loved this song, and yet I have some challenges with the song, just in terms of the lyric and some of the things that it says, but I also understand it from a metaphysical, metaphorical understanding, taking a step back from what can be perceived as a duality, which is not something we teach within this philosophy. We teach that everything is one. But in the one, we express individually and uniquely, and sometimes that experience unfolds as polarity. So where there is hatred, let me bring love. Where there's despair, let me bring hope. And then we get to this lyric at the end of the song, and I struggled with the thought, do I want to change the lyric for the purposes of this venue? And the lyric is this, and some people go, wait, what, huh? And it's this: it is in dying we'll find release. It is in dying we'll find release. Now, certainly we can take that literally. In the physical act of shedding this body, we are released back to the infinite, which is where we are from in the first place. That is the point of view that we take within this philosophy, that everything is energy. Everything is energy. And even this physical beingness is energy, and it houses an expression of energy. And when we release the physical, we are sent into the mystical yet again. And when we make a decision within the mystical, the individualized expression, that unique expression, comes back into physical form. Within that, we are always in this cycle of release. We're always in a cycle of release. Now we can apply that cycle of release too with this idea. In the death of the ego, we find release. And that's what today for me is about. It's around really understanding that there is this thing called ego. And sometimes we need to take the steps that are necessary to release the ego self or take the mask off, because that's all the ego is. It's a mask. Ego is the mask we wear, and masks, they're not just for Halloween. The longer we wear the mask, the less we are aware that we have the mask on. Now, ego, the way that it is contextualized in our culture and in our society, often carries with it, and I'm not saying this is all the time, but often carries with it a negative connotation. We talk about people who have, they have such an inflated ego, right? We take that and say, we don't want that. The ego is an important thing, though. The ego ultimately it literally means our sense of self. That is what the ego is. It is our idea of who we are. And in this philosophy, we teach that our ideas, our thoughts, our beliefs create our reality. So our sense of self creates the reality of ourself. Our sense of self creates the reality of ourself in the world of expression. And we live this reality. And I think sometimes what we do too is we wear a mask for a while and we say, I don't want to wear that mask anymore, but I'm going to wear this mask now. What if we got rid of all the masks and allowed our true sense of ultimate, infinite source self to truly be expressed without hindrance? Because that's what a mask does, it hinders. What if we just take the masks off? So our sense of self creates the reality of ourself. And there's one of the questions that I have today, and it is this: can we do this free of the noise of the circumstantial world? And here's what I mean by that. We have an ego self, and the ego, the I am self, that's really like when you break down the word, ego means I am. That I am self is ultimately who we are in the world, and everybody is trying to tell us what we should be. So can we let our true sense of self, shine through without having to take into consideration the circumstantial world and everybody telling us what we should be? That's a tough call for a lot of people. I lived with that for a very long time. Lived with this notion that, I need to fit in. And I've talked about this month, fitting in rather than stepping up and standing out. Allowing ourselves to, not push the boundaries too much because we don't want to shake it up too much. But we must shake it up. It is time that we shake it up. We have to shake up this world. I look at this world and I see the things that are happening, and I think the one thing that's probably going to change it most profoundly is if we as a collective of love decide that we are going to shake it up. Yes. That's what we must do. I'm jumping. Yes. Yeah. To do that, and I'm going to go back to my little reminder, we must remember who we are. Because who we are is source. Who we are is that thing that William was talking about. We are so far beyond our physical limitation, and when we step in and understand that we are so much more than our limited ego self, right here and right now, we will change the world. We are changing the world. It is time that we change the world. It requires moving to that deeper sense of self. That's the requirement. And this can happen, and I'm grateful. It's funny that last week I said, I'm gonna start letting the readers know I would like to see the reading before the Sunday. And I did not reach out to William and say, what's your reading this Sunday? I had no idea what you were bringing this Sunday. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Because I was one of those people, it took spiritual practice to get to the point where I really felt like I had transcended in some way the limitations that I had set for myself previously. That is not required for everyone. Absolutely, that is not required for everyone, but know where you are and know who you are in that paradigm. I am so grateful to have the tools to be able to step up and say, this is who I am. I remember who I am. I live life with love only and forgiveness of everything. Because there is no point in living a life that does not include that to me. So, my deeper sense of self was to truly land upon this idea that I am divine. I am divine. You are divine. We are all divine. When we allow that divinity to break forth and shine through, then here's what happens. All of the... We need a button. Because there's times when I just want to, we need to let all of that stuff go to the place where it no longer is required for our experience. Now, here's the deal. I say no longer required for our experience. It is required for our experience right now, or we would not be experiencing it. So our task is to understand what it is we need to know from that. And when we know that, and when we embody a new idea, we will eliminate the necessity for that anymore. But it's work. It's work. This is actually looking at it and understanding the human versus the divine understanding of self. And if I put this entirely in context, this is not going to be pretty for some people. Every single person on this planet, every single living being that exists in this universe is divine. Although not everybody acts like it. In the ways that we would want them to. Including us. There have been times when I have not acted so divine. I'm not going to talk about that today.
Thank you.
So how do we move forward with the understanding that everyone is divine and listening to everybody with the understanding that every single person we encounter is divine? I have trouble listening to some people sometimes. I do. And then I have to remind myself of this magnificent lesson that I was taught by my mentor in this field, and it is this. God is speaking no matter who is talking.
No.
Yes, yes. God is speaking no matter who is talking. I'll get to that. I promise I'm going to get to that. This notion of what words are formed and come out of their mouth. Now, are they in alignment with a deeper truth? Not always, but God is speaking no matter who is talking. And if we are hearing them in our sphere, then there is a reason we are hearing them in our sphere. Part of this is to say we must begin to start taking responsibility to understand more deeply who and what we are so that we are not adversely affected by those things out there. We're the ones in charge of our experience and expression of life. No one else. But we allow ourselves to get steamrolled by ideas and thoughts and speech of other people. But it's up to us to make the determination whether or not we are going to continue that. God is speaking no matter who is talking. Now, we forget this too because we have a tendency to put God in a box. Even in this philosophy where we say, we're open at the top. We are so far, we're elevated. We are all mystics, but we're still putting God in a box. And I'll tell you why that is true. Because anytime we try to utter utilizing language, the limited expression of language, anytime we try to utter and define that which is ineffable, we've boxed it. It becomes limited in our expression of it. And it's time to let God out of the box, to destroy the box, frankly. Now, I had a thought that I might come in here and say, everything that you have learned and everything that you have taken in and everything that you have heard here at this place called Tucson New Thought, prior to this moment, let it all go. And let's start from source. Just saying the word source, we've already started limiting the idea. Get it? I had a reflection last week from somebody who said, I don't know that I necessarily agree with your assertion, and I'm paraphrasing here, so the person who is in this room will understand that I don't remember exactly what the dialogue was, but she, well, now you know it's a woman. This particular person said, I do not know that I agree with your assertion of love being the creative energy. And I said, okay, I understand that. But it's because there is a limited idea, and I think we all have this. We all have limited ideas of what love is. And the truth is absolutely that we absolutely cannot understand the ineffable. We can't. It's impossible. Absolutely impossible. So I hold to this notion that understanding love as the creative energy of the universe, and it is not love in the contextual, it is a deeper sense of that feeling of love that I carry with me in my heart. That to me is the creative source. So that's how I define it. But again, I'm defining it and limiting it. So I've created a box around it. Break down the box. Because here's the deal. If we put God in a box, that's putting ourselves in a box. Because we are that which is. People tell me all the time about the box that they live in. In this particular field, people tell me all the time about the box that they are living in. They are telling me a box of old ideas which did serve a purpose at one time, absolutely, but perhaps they don't serve any longer. And they fight like hell to stay in that box. It's called arguing for your limitations. We all do it. I do it. I do it. I do it. But I also try to and work to and have the practice of reflecting on what I say, how I act, and who I am in this world. And I work to say, am I arguing for my limitations right here and right now? So what are the arguments that we might be making? Many arguments we will make all the time. And are we fighting like hell to hold on to them? Arguments like illness, identifying with a physical illness. Is that a limitation that we are experiencing? Are we identifying with this notion that somehow we are not enough? And that becomes reflected on our money or our sense of self. We feel less than. Do we identify with this notion that perhaps we are bad at relationships? Do we identify with this notion that somehow we cannot be fulfilled? We hate our jobs. We're limiting. What are the limiting beliefs you keep repeating in your mind? What are those beliefs? Only you will know. You may have people who will reflect them to you. It's possible. But you know in your heart what those beliefs are. Now, I also want to say let's honor those beliefs. Let's honor those limitations right here and right now. Let's live in gratitude for them because they have created a construct of experience that feels comfortable. They are a part of us. We learn to define our own sense of self, our own sense of beingness. We define our ego based on the limitations we have created. But are the limitations required? I'm debating whether I want this to be a rhetorical question or not. Are the limitations required? Yes and no. That's really the answer. Yes and no. You get to decide. Each and every one of us gets to decide what to hold on to. And as long as it serves us in a constructive way, then perhaps go ahead and hold on to that limitation or that limited idea, because that is how we express in this world. But if it no longer serves you, let it go. Like Elsa sings, let it go, let it go. I've got some Frozen fans in the room. A change of mind, when we change our mind, and it is up to us to determine if we're going to change our mind, a change of mind is the activity of infinite potential in motion. It is part of the evolutionary experience. I'm going to say that again. A change of mind is the activity of infinite potential in motion. It is part of the evolutionary experience. We are a center for spiritual evolution. And so my point of view in creating this construct to attract community was to say, my desire is that we are evolving into the next way of being. And we do this by committing to change our minds. So are you going to argue for your limitations? Are you going to continue to argue for your limitations that perhaps no longer work for you? Or are you going to embody something deeper? That's really the biggest question today, and perhaps the question that you can walk away with today. Arguing for our limitations is deflecting responsibility, and accepting responsibility is letting those limitations go. And I'll tell you, when I have let limitations go, I am freed to the infinite, and it feels so good. It is then that I become truly an instrument of peace, an instrument of love, an instrument of joy, an instrument of power, an instrument of beauty, an instrument of light, and an instrument of life. In the deepest sense of those things being attributes for this infinite divinity that is ineffable, beyond language, beyond words, beyond comprehension, and yet we keep trying to figure it out. It's time to see what Ernest Holmes has to say about this. Do you mind? So many of you will have written down a number, and that number is going to correspond. We do a random drawing. That number will correspond with a page in this book, The Science of Mind, which is the foundational and primary text that we utilize within this particular branch of the New Thought philosophy. And so, Karimon, what is... Oh, they're okay. She's making it work.
Opportunity.
All right. Oh, you tell me what, because I could just pretend like there's some 65. So I will now turn to page 65.
Thanks for being my partner in a group.
Well, she could be a plant, too.
She could be, but... All right, on page 65, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 8 paragraphs on this page. I heard 5 first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is antiquated language in this reading. I'm going to preface this with that. And God said within himself something after this fashion. If I wish to have a man who is a real being, I must give him self-choice. Ernie and I, we're like this. Self-choke. There it is. I'm like, where is it? He must be spontaneous, not automatic. The limitations we take on are the things that actually lead us into automatic responses and automatic behaviors. Spontaneous behaviors are backing ourselves up, letting go of those limitations, remembering who we are. I love that I can point to this all the time. Remembering who we are. We can live in spontaneity and deepen our practice of the experience of life in that fashion. He must have dominion over everything. Well, okay, so I can tell you what's happening in this particular part of the book. He has taken the creation story from the Holy Bible and he is reinterpreting it. So this is part of that reinterpretation. Because I actually don't know that I necessarily personally, now you get to decide for yourself, I don't know that I necessarily personally agree that mankind, humankind, should have dominion over everything, because I think we have really messed it up. I will let him name everything I have created. Basically, I will let him limit everything I've created. Think about that. And he shall have all things to enjoy, for his life must be full and complete if he is to express my nature. Now, I say it's in antiquated language, of course, because he's taking dualistic language that was utilized in the Holy Bible, and he's attributing it here. And there's a lot of dualism in this particular book, which we have really moved away from. This book, which was originally written in 1926, this edition was 1938. We're 80 years ago. And he was in a different place when he was making his transition in the 1960s. I think we need to honor the fact that if we are to spiritually evolve, maybe I should stop reading this book. I'm not going to. Because here's the deal. I don't take it literally. It inspires something within me. It inspires something within me to think more deeply, to allow myself to go to that place of deeper profundity, to understand myself in a new way. That's evolution to me. But he would also have been the first to say, if you're still studying this book in 100 years, if in 50 years, then you didn't understand my meaning or what I was trying to teach. We have mystics all around us. Are we listening to them? Are we allowing them to have the voice of import that we give to people like Ernest Holmes? We all have something to say. And if we all allow ourselves to get right down to it, each and every one of us is a mystic. But we might cover that up with a mask and not allow that to shine forth. So that's all pretty serious, right? A lot of deep thought, a lot of deep philosophical thought. Because finally, what I want to say in all of this, have a sense of humor. Have a sense of humor. I have a friend from Los Angeles, where I used to live, and we used to joke all the time about the notion of this idea. You know, we were being taught in our spiritual center that we can stand up and proclaim, I am God, right? Because that's what we should all be proclaiming, because it is the truth. We are that source. And we used to joke, he and I, we used to say, how could I possibly think I was anything else? And how egotistical to think that I am something other than God. Have a sense of humor around it all. Because we are serious in our spiritual practice. We can be silly in our spiritual practice. Let us be playful in life, and let's recognize them with the potential of being the same thing. The living of our life from the deepest point of view is spiritual practice. And while we may formalize it through practices like prayer and meditation and those things, those things are not required to live a life of spiritual practice. But I'm going to give you some homework now. This is not a requirement, but a suggestion. Because the way that our experience of the divine is limited is in the way we express it. And a lot of that expression comes through language. And it is the interactions that we have with other people and the conversations that we have with other people. All of that continues to compound to limit the experience and expression of the infinite source in our lives. So this week's homework is, I would say, very simple, but not necessarily easy. I want you to listen this week. I want you to spend time mostly listening. Now, one of the things that we often do when we are in conversation is we're not listening to the other person, we are contemplating what we are going to say. I'm going to encourage all of us to take a step back and really listen this week. And there are 3 ways in which I would like us all to listen. Number 1, listen to what you hear. Simple. Listen to what you hear. Number 2, listen to what you think about what you hear. So listen to what you hear. Listen to what you think about what you hear. And the third aspect of listening is this. Listen to the greater intuitive voice moving through you. Listen to what you hear. Listen to what you think about what you hear. And listen to the greater intuitive voice that is moving through you. And it is always, always moving through you. Namaste. So speaking of listening, we're going to allow ourselves to take a moment and be rooted with a breath in the practice of the silence. So as Christy begins to lead us into that, I'm going to invite us all to take a breath, allow ourselves to, if it's comfortable and you want to close your eyes, you're welcome to do so. And just let yourself be present to this moment. Let yourself deepen in this moment. Let yourself have the luxury of being here now. Allow yourself to release what has preceded this moment. Allow yourself to let go of whatever you anticipate is unfolding before you and just be here now. And I invite us all to simply and easefully, in the silence, listen. In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release. As my heart opens up to the voice, I awake to these precious moments when I hear all that could ever be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God, I find myself. Today I listen. I listen for the sound of source. that is rooted in my heart. For there is only that one power. There is only that one presence. There is only source. There is nothing else. And this is who and what each and every one of us is. And so today I claim, with source at our core, that each and every one of us allows a freedom to evolve by letting go of any limitation, letting it go, letting it fly, and disappearing back into the nothingness from which it came and the everythingness from which it came. And so it is with a grateful heart that I allow and I release, as together we say, and so it is. In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release. As my heart opens up to the voice, I awake to these precious moments when I hear all that could ever be said. And right here in this holy silence, I find God. Oh, I find God. I find myself. Thank you. I'm going to invite Carrie Munn to the lectern.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. So Tucson New Thought is a community that is entirely supported by your generosity. And so with that theme of listening, I invite you to listen to your intuition about what you get from this place, what comes up for you, what's true. And from that place, knowing that we are all one, consider what this means to you, and whatever you have to give to back that giving and receiving, whether you call it an investment, a gift, a contribution, a tithe, it doesn't matter what you call it. Know that it is part of what grows this center, what grows this community, what grows this world to that place of peace and love. And what matters here is the energy of sharing that love that we talk about. So on the technical side, we do have options for giving, all the regular cash, check, credit card. Online, there is going to be a link, and you are part of this community as much as those people sitting here in this room. So please know that we are happy to have you as well. I honor your commitment to our mission and vision, and I'm grateful for the support that you give us each day and the blessings that you share. Thank you. And let's look together at the screen. We're going to read together this divine giving this statement. And here we go. Divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, prosper, and bless. It is evidence of my conviction that spirit is the source and substance of my supply. I joyously contribute to the vision of my spiritual center, knowing that it returns to me multiplied abundantly.
Thank you, Carrie Munn. Oh, pardon me, Logan. As I was reading this time, I just want to acknowledge this notion that we contribute to the vision. We state I joyously contribute to the vision of my spiritual center. And I want us to understand our spiritual center as perhaps this physical location, but also understanding our spiritual center. Take that into consideration today. Oh. Yes, that is the way that this stuff works. So, a couple of things while Logan is passing around the basket. I want to remind everybody that we have new service times beginning November 17th. Until November 17th, it's service at 10 a.m. on Sundays as usual. But on September, have I multiple times said September 17th? November 17th. We're not going back in time. November 17th, we begin our 2-service Sundays with a 9 a.m. contemplative service and a 10:30 a.m. Celebration service. The contemplative service, for those who are watching online, will not be online. It'll be the 10:30 a.m. service that we will broadcast on Facebook. So that is happening there. Also, we have continuing meditation every single Wednesday right here in this room at 6 p.m., encouraging you all to come and partake in that spiritual practice. So grateful for that. A couple of other things too. Please recycle your handouts. While this is the end of the month, we will take the paper and we will recycle it. But also for each month, we do one printout and you reuse them throughout the month. Also, if you would like to fill out a prayer request form, they're available on the table here. Fill out a request, put it in the yes box. The healing begins in that instant. And if you are joining us for the first time today and you are not already on our mailing list, we would love to include you on our email list. And if you are willing to provide us with your email address, you will get a gift from us. I send out some spiritual practices and but the first thing you get right when you sign up is several recorded prayers to help you in support of the primary areas of your life. So we encourage and welcome your participation in that. Logan, if you don't mind, please. Let's just take a moment of reflection right here and right now that what has been collected in this basket is a blessing, and it is blessing this entire community. And so I give great honor and gratitude and allow myself to be filled with gratitude for what has been collected here, knowing that it is utilized with the highest integrity of this community, of this organization. And I live my life in gratitude for these blessings. So I know that as we give, we receive, as we receive, we give, and we live in this infinite flow at all times. So it is with gratitude that I simply just allow the infinite circulation to unfold. I release this word and know it to be so, as together we say, and so it is. Thank you. I want to say thank you to Aiden for providing our technical support today. And I want to say thank you to everyone who brought a dish to share today for our potluck. And please know that we are going to be clearing the chairs out and bringing out tables so that we all have a place to sit down for potluck. So just be aware that there's going to be some motion happening once we complete the service today. Also, I want to say thank you to Karimon and to Marvis for greeting and helping out this morning. I want to say thank you to William for your inspiration in our reading and reflection today. Really wonderful. Thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to Christy and to Anita for providing such magnificent music for us and allowing us to share your musical genius. So thank you for that. And I especially want to say thank you to every single one of you for being present, for stepping up and saying, this is something I believe in, this is something that I take into my own heart, and I get to now take it out into the world. So what do you say we do that by lifting our spirits up and letting our love flow? Let's hit it. There's a reason for the sunshine sky, and there's a reason why I'm feeling so high. Must be the season when those love lights shine all around us. So let that feeling grab you deep inside and send you reeling where your love can't hide, and then go stealing through the moonlit nights with your lover. Just let your love flow like a mountain stream, and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams, and let your love show, and you'll know what I mean. It's the season. Oh, let your love fly like a bird on the wing, and let your love bind you all living things, and let your love shine. And you'll know what I mean, that's the reason. There's a reason for the warm, sweet nights, and there's a reason for the candle lights. Must be the season when those love lights shine all around us. So let that wonder take you into space and lay you under its loving embrace. Just feel the thunder as it warms your face. You can't hold back. Just let your love flow like a mountain stream, and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams, and let your love show. And you'll know what I mean, that's the season. Oh, let your love fly like a bird on the wing, and let your love find you to all living things, and let your love shine. And you'll know what I mean, that's the reason. Oh, let your love flow like a mountain stream, and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams, and let your love show. And you'll know what I mean, it's the season. Well, let your love fly like a bird on the wing, and let your love bind you to all living things, and let your love shine. And you'll know what I mean, that's the reason. Just let your love shine, and you'll know what I mean, that's the reason. Yes, let your love shine, and you'll know what I mean, that's the reason. Make it a great week, everyone. Thank you so much. Namaste.